Welcome to the Michigan Man Podcast on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew, for Wolverine fans from coast to coast. Go Blue and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. While our weather is very cold outside here in Michigan this week, the recruiting wars are red hot. Michigan has 21 hard commits in the class of 2017 and could very well have 4 more later this week. Big-time players at that. On today's show, Steve Lorenz from 24/7 Sports joins me for an update on that and much more. Here are some news and notes to get us started today. Jim Harbaugh told his team this week he isn't going anywhere, despite rumors started by, in his words, our enemies. He told the team, "You are stuck with me." We knew the day Jim came on board, we would hear these rumors after each season. It is part of the deal, but we can relax for now. The football banquet was held last night in Livonia, Tuesday night. Jabrill Peppers was named Most Valuable Player. Grant Newsome won the Ufer Award for demonstrating team spirit. Ben Gedeon received the Zatkoff Award for Best Linebacker. Chris Wormley and Ryan Glasgow shared the Catcher Award for Best Defensive Lineman. Eric Magnuson won the Raider Award for Best Offensive Lineman. Wilton Spate was Most Improved, and Anthony Delamonte was named Scout Team Player of the Year. The team is now in Christmas camp, as Jim Harbaugh is calling it, getting ready for the Orange Bowl. It will be an important 15 practices for many reasons. The seniors want to go out on a high note, and the younger players will want to position themselves for spring football and get the coach's attention. Next week we'll have more on that. This week recruiting will be the big news. There is no one that covers it better than Steve Lorenz from 24/7 Sports. We had some technical issues with Skype at the beginning of the interview, so we'll pick it up with Steve talking about this past weekend's visitors at Michigan and who might be announcing their choice of schools in the next few days. That's here on The Michigan Man on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V-Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew.
Top 100 center out of IMG Academy down in Bradenton, Florida. I'm betting we've talked about him before. I'm a huge fan of this kid. Top pure center in the country, in the cycle. Michigan really wants sort of that brick in the middle of that foundation to build on. He's definitely the guy. Of the 4 guys, I would say he's the safest bet. I mean, I think all 4 of them do choose Michigan as of today. But Ruiz is a guy. It's really hard to even know who else is contending. I know North Carolina has been recruiting him. I think Auburn's kind of been recruiting him, Oklahoma, but Ruiz is about as close to a lock as you could really get. So, yeah, so 4 guys that, Mike, I would argue, I mentioned McCaffrey, and then I think Ambry Thomas is probably a top 5 overall target for them on their board. But I would argue that Peoples-Jones, Wilson, and Ruiz are probably top 5 targets as well. I mean, you could say they're going to possibly get 3 of the top 4 or 5 guys on their recruiting board within the next 7 days.
All of those kids were in town over the weekend for the big recruiting visits or the big weekend?
Wilson was not, and Ruiz was not. Those guys they have both officialed earlier in the cycle. Wilson was at Georgia. I don't know if Ruiz, I don't remember the last time he took a visit anywhere. So no, it was Peoples-Jones, and then Tariq Black was there, Najee Harris, and I think a couple of the other uncommitted targets were Drew Singleton, the linebacker out of Paramus Catholic that I know we've talked about before, and then I know I'm missing. So, Darren Irving Bay, the 4-star defensive lineman out of Flint, also was there. So those are the uncommitted guys there. But no, Wilson and Ruiz were not on campus this weekend.
Okay, so of course a big recruiting weekend, and I know I was reading. I cannot keep up with all of this, Steve, but the dead period's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, it started actually. I think Monday at midnight. So Sunday night, in the midnight there is when it officially ended. You get schools making last minute kind of scrambles. It's always kind of one of the interesting things. I know, so Donovan Peoples-Jones, we talked about, was at Michigan this weekend, officialed from Friday to Sunday, actually stayed up a little bit later on Sunday than most of the other official visitors, and then goes back home to Detroit. Come to find out that Kerry Combs, Urban Meyer, and Zach Smith from Ohio State actually flew into Detroit and then drove over to his house on Sunday night to get that last visit, to get a last in-home visit in before the dead period started at midnight. So you see that kind of stuff happen all the time. I think it's really neat, interesting, you know, the logistical side of things. I mean, if you're Ohio State, you assume Michigan leads, and you know he just officially visited there for 48 hours, and you know it's the last time that coaches will be able to see him face-to-face because he's enrolling early. So this is it for his recruitment as far as face-to-face contact. So if you're Ohio State, you know, you got about a 5-hour window in there. Why not? You know, of course, they got the money. They can fly him up there and get him over there. You know, why not go in there, go in home, make a last pitch for him, you know, knowing that he just saw Michigan for 48 hours. You know, let's go in there and see what we can do. So once the clock strikes midnight on Monday, the dead period started. You can still text and call, I think direct message via Twitter and stuff, but as far as face-to-face contact, it's done. So with a lot of guys trying to enroll early or looking to enroll early in January, that's it. That was it. You know, that was their last shot face-to-face. So pretty significant, you know, because face-to-face obviously is it's the most effective way of recruiting a guy. So it's very interesting, those last-minute scrambles. And, you know, I don't think Michigan did anything like that. You know, they had Najee Harris, the number one prospect in the country. They drove him to the airport on Sunday night. He flew home, and that's it, right? So interesting stuff. I'm sure the coaches are ecstatic to not be on the road anymore. And maybe this is, you know, I know they're practicing for the Orange Bowl, obviously, but you know, recruiting is so key at this point of the year. But they do get a nice little break for a little while.
Well, the whole Najee Harris thing, very interesting to me. He has been an Alabama commit for some time now. And of course, Jim Harbaugh has been going hard after him. And he's been here, I think, twice now for visits since he's committed to Alabama. Isn't that right?
Yeah, correct. So he was in town in August for the barbecue at the Big House, which was a big, you know, obviously it was a significant win for them to get him on campus at that point. They've recruited him really, really hard. You know, Jim Harbaugh went up there. You remember the story of him announcing the homecoming queen winner at Antioch High School when he went to go watch Harris play a game. His high school asked him to asked Harbaugh if he would announce the homecoming queen winner. There's been, you know, information in his recruitment's been kind of spotty. You know, for a number one kid, he does not like the limelight. He does not like interviews. He doesn't like going on the record. I mean, we flew out, Isaiah Hole, our beat writer, flew out to Antioch when Michigan did a satellite camp up there in June. We flew Isaiah all the way out there, and they wouldn't give us Harris for not even 5 minutes. You know, flew all the way out to California, couldn't even get the kid on the record for 5 minutes. If that, you know, that kind of gives you an indication of how little he really does not enjoy the process at all. So information's been kind of spotty, but Michigan, I know after the barbecue in August, Michigan felt like they had a really legitimate chance with him. Our approach to it has sort of been that he is verbally committed to Alabama, but we've been told to treat it as if he was an uncommitted recruit who was maybe leaning towards Alabama. That's kind of the way I've approached it still. I know Michigan had a great official visit with him over the weekend. His mom, who I think is somebody that needed to be convinced more than maybe Najee himself, seemed to really enjoy the visit as well. It's still unclear what he's going to do. I mean, he's not even a kid. He might not even do like a formal decision. I mean, he might just covering this kid as long as I have and knowing what I do know of him, I could see him, because he's another early enrollee, so he'll be in January wherever he goes. I could see him signing with the school that he chooses and just showing up on campus. No fanfare, nothing, just showing up, you know. So it'll be interesting to see if he does decide to go, you know, sort of an announcement route or not. Michigan's confident. Again, like I said, to talk to Najee firsthand or get something from even his coaching staff is like pulling teeth. So it's hard to maybe gauge. Maybe Michigan's got the right feel on it. Maybe they don't. It's just, that's kind of the $1 million question. I would say though that many in Schembechler think that Michigan is where he's going to go. So we'll just have to see how it plays out. He's an elite player, obviously. I mean, number one guy. I think between he and Cam Akers, the other 5-star running back in this cycle, two of the better high school running backs to come out in the last 5 or 6 years, probably since Leonard Fournette. So I mean, whoever gets Harris and or Akers, Michigan's not involved with Akers, but whoever gets either of these guys are getting, potential game changer at running back.
Well, Steve, we've talked about Donovan Peoples-Jones, and in the next few days we'll learn where he is going. Out of the city of Detroit, already 2 players that Michigan really wanted bad have committed. Ambry Thomas, Jalen Kelly-Powell. Those were huge gets for Jim Harbaugh, weren't they?
Yeah, I mean, the Ambry Thomas, commitment was really significant for Michigan for a couple of reasons. One, the last 3 cycles, there's been what I call the Detroit chaos recruitment every year. 2014, it was Malik McDowell, if you remember the drama with that one. And then, of course, the Michael Weber recruitment. There was tons of drama with that one on signing day. And then even last year, maybe to a little bit of a lesser extent, but not necessarily, was Lavert Hill. Now, Michigan lost out to McDowell and Weber. They got Hill. Thomas was the kid in this cycle I thought would fit that role because, Detroit King is an area that's sent more kids to Michigan State than they have to Michigan. With Hill last year, he had a brother on the team, I think was a huge feather in their cap in that race. With Thomas, they didn't have any of those sort of built-in advantages. I think personally, I think it's a situation where Michigan State's 3-9 season really helped Michigan. I think Thomas, for a long time, I think there was a lot of people that thought he'd be a better fit at Michigan State. They need cornerbacks in this class, the Spartans do, so there was a need there as well. I think Michigan going in and getting him is really, again, he's an in-state kid, so Michigan was going to be in the race no matter what. It's different than maybe if they were to, say if they were to sign Aubrey Solomon, it's different than, that as far as going somewhere out of your area and getting an elite guy. But I still think Thomas, one of the bigger wins of the recruiting cycle for Michigan, just because, I mean, he's an elite talent. I know I've seen others say that he's like a higher ceiling Jordan Lewis. I'd agree with that, at least as far as where they're at now compared to, where Jordan was as a senior in high school, where Ambry is now. Ambry's a little bit longer. He's just as quick. And he's also a guy, much like Lewis was coming out of high school, a guy I think could play both ways if it works out that way. I mean, he's a great wide receiver, knows what to do when the ball's in his hands. So that was a big one. And then Kelly Powell, to me, is maybe one of their most important commitments for the simple fact that, we've gotten a full season to see what Don Brown likes to do defensively. And his favorite thing to do is, disguise scheme, bring the blitz from whichever direction, confuse the offense, stuff like that. Kelly Powell is like the perfect Don Brown defensive back because he can cover you out on the outside as a cornerback. He can drop back and play safety. But the other thing he can do, too, better than most guys his size, is he'll come up and play the run, and he'll come up and hit you. So, I mean, he's a guy I think you're going to see all over the field at certain points in the game. He's an absolutely perfect fit for what Michigan's doing right now defensively. And he's also a huge team leader, too, though. Big work ethic guy. To me, he's really kind of the whole package. Great kid. I think he does really well in the classroom. He works his butt off. He really is one of those kind of a cliche, but he's kind of one of those first guy there, last guy to leave type kids. But he's still super, super talented though. I mean, sometimes you hear those things, you think it's the guy made himself off just effort, but Kelly Powell's got a wealth of talent too though. I mean, he had offers from Alabama and Auburn and Notre Dame and Michigan State and I think Florida and a bunch of other schools. So both those guys are huge. Huge for the defensive back, future of the defensive back position, whether it's at corner or safety. And huge because, if Donovan commits to Michigan on Thursday, and if Michigan gets Darren Irving Bay out of Flint, which I think they have a really good shot to do, they would sign 7 of the top 8 prospects in the cycle. Now, they've never, from what I could find, I don't know when, I think Rivals was the first recruiting site to start. I don't know when that was, but as far as back as our composite ranking goes, so that'd be the average of 24/7 Scout, Rivals, ESPN. As far back as the composite goes, Michigan's never signed the top 5 prospects in the state. They will if Donovan commits on Thursday. So really, I mean, huge wins for Michigan, coupled with, that's a massive loss for Michigan State to lose out on not just the top 5, but 7 of the top 8. And then the kid who's not in the top 8 would be Antoine Simmons, is there in like 6 or 7. He's not a lock to go to Michigan State either. He may end up at Notre Dame. So really, Michigan made this 2017 class when Harbaugh first got hired. They saw that this was a really good in-state class in 17. They made it a major priority. And I mean, they might end up sweeping, the guys that they really want out of the state in this cycle.
I know it's really hard right now to tell what the final numbers might be because, there's probably a lot of auditioning going on during Christmas camp as we get ready for Florida State for those fifth-year guys, who's coming back, who's not. Your best guess right now as to, what the final number might be in the ballpark anyway.
Ballpark, I think it's definitely going to be over 30. I'd say let's go 32 to 34 right now. I think they're going to try to, again, the guys that we've already talked about, there's other guys out there, Willie Gay, Jordan Anthony, Drew Singleton, Chuck Filiaga, even TJ Slayton out of Florida, offensive lineman, Elijah Hicks, the corner they're trying to flip from Notre Dame. I mean, these are all guys that haven't committed yet that I know Michigan would take. So there's a lot of action left to go. Yeah, you know how it is, Mike. I mean, it literally, I couldn't stress this enough to anybody listening. The amount of players that they like to sign in a cycle can literally change by the day. I mean, if you go back to signing day and this last February, they had offered a scholarship to a kid named Alaric Jackson out of Detroit Renaissance High School. They'd offered him about a week before signing day. And then on signing day, changed their mind about sending him a letter of intent. So the number of scholarships they could have signed last year was literally decided at the very, very last second. So, it's always a work in progress. And like you said, yeah, I mean, a lot of it might come down to some of these camp practices and who they're going to ask back next year because, there's a lot of them. That's a big group of kids. So, I think a lot of it will depend on that. And it always depends on who you're going to get, right? Because if you have a 5-star fall into your lap late in the process, not that they really fall in your lap, but you know what I mean, though, if they all of a sudden they're like, hey, we can get this guy, they're going to go out and get that guy. That's just the way it is. Not one school in the country would do it any differently. So, so I'm going with somewhere 32 to 34-ish. They do have 21 verbals right now. Again, like we said, could be 25 by this time next week. So, we'll just have to see. But we'll go 32 to 34 right now.
With us here on our game day segment this week as we talk recruiting, and of course it's been heating up since the season ended. Actually, for someone like Steve Lorenz, it never dies down. It's ongoing every day. But of course, as we head into signing day in February, it just gets more and more intense. Steve, right now, I know I get emails from listeners that say we're number 7 in some of the recruiting services. We're number 6. What's going on? Still, as you said, a lot of players out there yet to decide. Do you see any way this class doesn't bump up to the top 5 before it's all said and done?
I mean, if they get the 4 guys that we already talked about, the guys that they're deciding within the next week, they would be number 4, and they would be breathing right down Georgia's neck for number 3. I mean, I think personally, Georgia is putting together a great class, by the way, but to me, with who Michigan should, and let me emphasize should because it's recruiting and anything can change, but with who they should finish out with, I think you're going to see a situation where Michigan, Alabama, and Ohio State are going to have 3 amazing classes, and then it's going to be everybody else. So that's the way I see it happening now. Again, unless Michigan swings and misses on they'd have to swing and miss on some guys that I have felt pretty good about their chances with for quite a long time. So I'm not a very guarantee type person with this stuff, but I'd be shocked if they didn't end up with a top 5 class. If only, because they're going to sign a really big class anyway. I'd be just shocked if it wasn't in the top 5. I don't try to think of some other schools that really, LSU is always going to have a great class just because the state of Louisiana is always super talented and all those kids most of them go to LSU. Like I said, Georgia, Alabama and Ohio State are number. You can only Alabama, Ohio State are number one, number two right now. Ohio State's only going to get better. But I think what you're going to see is that I think, Michigan is going to join Alabama and Ohio State in that top tier. I think right now, I think they finish the cycle as the top three. Georgia might be the one other school that can challenge them, but Michigan's got so many spots left and they're probably all are going to be filled by elite guys. So, no, I mean, I'd be flabbergasted, shocked, whatever word you want to put in there, if they didn't finish in the top five based on who they should finish out with and how many spots they still have left.
All right, so it's going to be an exciting stretch run as we head into National Signing Day early in February. Let's switch gears for just a minute or so, Steve, and talk about the current state of Michigan football. We have Christmas camp underway as we prepare for the Orange Bowl and Florida State. And for a lot of reasons, these 15 practices are huge. Of course, the seniors want to go out on a positive note. They're all saying there's not going to be a letdown in this game. That's not what they came to Michigan for. They want to go out big. Also huge for a lot of the young players to let Coach Jim Harbaugh see what they've got as we get ready. And it's not going to be that long before spring football rolls around.
Absolutely. And you pretty much described it right. I mean, it's important on both those ends, right? And I agree with you that I think this group of seniors again, this might come off as homer, but they're a chintzy face mask call and a questionable yardage spot away from being not just probably in the playoff, but undefeated right now. So, to be one of those guys like a Jake Butter or Chris Wormley, it's got to be tough to swallow. It's 10-2 is a great spot to be in, but to know how close you are to being not, undefeated. And really, if they had gone undefeated, you probably could have made the argument that they have a better resume top to bottom than Alabama did. But, I think they want to go out on a high note. If they win, they'll probably finish somewhere in the top 3 or 4 at least. I don't expect a letdown personally. I think you're also talking about a bunch of kids that want to get drafted, right? So I think they're going to want to come out. Some of these guys, again, they're going to want to play for the team, the team, but they're also, it's another audition for some of these guys. Like I think of a guy like Delano Hill or a Ben Gedeon, a guy that, maybe could play in the league, but has one last chance maybe to audition in front of a big crowd at a big stage and put it together one last time. So yeah, but for me, the more interesting part personally, it's these practices are going to be so beneficial for some of these younger guys. I mean, you think, Lewis and Stribling will be gone next year. So these practices will be huge for like a Lavert Hill or a David Long or a Keith Washington, some of these younger guys that, like you said, haven't really gotten the chance to showcase their abilities yet. And, it is. I mean, they're losing a lot of guys. I mean, there's just no way around it. So it's going to be really interesting to see, if there's a couple guys that play their way into not the starting lineup against Florida State, but guys that maybe we see a little bit more of. I know one guy that got a ton of playing time in the latter half of the year was Josh Metellus, the safety out of Flanagan. A guy that when Michigan signed him, people thought that they were just signing him and he and Devin Gill to help get Devin Bush, who was kind of the big prize out of that high school. But Metellus, I think he was their leading tackler in one of the games this year. So, it's an interesting mix of it's going to be sad to see this group leave because they've been through so much. And B, they've just been, in my opinion, I think for the most part, these guys have been great representatives of the program. I think fans will look back someday and see these guys as sort of the guys that help bring Michigan back to what we're all used to seeing Michigan football be. But it'll be neat, to see who's next then, who's going to carry the torch, right? So, these practices are absolutely pivotal in that regard. But the overarching thing to me is, I don't see a letdown. I think Michigan should win this game. I mean, their defensive line should be dominant against Florida State's offensive line. Has been very pedestrian all year. I mean, I feel like they're going to dominate the line of scrimmage defensively, slow down Delvin Cook, and do enough offensively. So. Interesting. Kind of an intriguing game. I mean, these two schools hardly ever play each other, so that's always kind of neat. But Yeah, I mean, a lot of young guys, wide receivers too. I mean, Kekoa Crawford, Eddie McDoom, even Nate Johnson. I mean, it'll be interesting to see, if those guys get any play and, how they kind of transition in the next season.
Here we are getting ready for the bowl game. And in the next few weeks, of course, this week, we're going to learn more about the recruits, 4 big names on the board. But the recruiting process through February, the Orange Bowl to focus on. The other thing that is on that list we're going to be hearing about a lot in the next couple of weeks is Jim Harbaugh going to the NFL. There were all of these stories yesterday, the last 2 days really, about the Rams and that he's on the radar of other teams. We said this when we signed him. It's something fans just have to get used to.
Absolutely. Well, and there's an easy reason for that. It's because, you see like the Rams fired Jeff Fisher yesterday. Whoever they hire, which it will not be Jim Harbaugh, obviously, whoever they hire, Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than that guy is, right? So that's, you're always going to hear that. It's similar. I guess it's similar. I'm not really a big fan of the guy personally, but it's going to be similar to what John Calipari, would go through at Kentucky every year when he was putting, 4 or 5 guys in the NBA draft, and he was in the NBA before, had a decent amount of success. And people feel like, he's done it all in college. He wants to go back. Harbaugh, he's where he wants to be. You can read John Bacon's Twitter timeline if you ever need any clarification on what's going on there. But it is something I think that they're going to have to deal with every year. He knows it. The players probably know it. Everybody kind of knows it. But it's a testament to how great of a football coach he is, right? I mean, he wouldn't be rumored if he wasn't, a guy that people feel like is one of the best coaches in football. So it's something that people are going to have to get used to. And until there's 2 years, I mean, not a chance. I mean, it's just, the silly rumor. Really, the original rumor-ish comment was made by, I think it was a guy from the NFL Network who, what do you know, happens to be an Ohio State graduate. So, that's just, again, the timing of it, all that, and it's really kind of funny, but, it's comical to me, really. And it is, though. He's high in demand. He's always going to be high in demand because he's great at what he does. I think Michigan fans should look at it and think that very fortunate, right, to and again, I know this season, you could look at it and say, man, they could easily be 12-0, but 2 years ago they were 5-7, dead in the water. Nobody knew what the heck was going to happen. And here we are now in December of 2016, and people are disappointed about an Orange Bowl berth. So, times have already changed. He's recruiting some awesome players, some future stars. Like I said, this week could be another piece of that puzzle. And, Michigan football's on more of an upward trajectory than they've been on in, I don't know. I mean, since probably Cars, since 03, 04, So it's been a long time since I think Michigan football's had what they have going on now. So, I mean, the NFL stuff, it's going to be there. It's just going to be part of the game. He knows how to deal with it on the recruiting trail. I know that. And, so if people out there are ever concerned about, are these rumors going to hurt them with a certain target or anything like that? I don't anticipate it. He knows how to handle it. He knows it's going to be there every year. They're kind of prepared for it. So, I think, I always try to be an optimist. I think it's a great thing. I think it's cool to have a head coach that's wanted by the NFL. You don't see, you don't ever hear any NFL rumors about Urban Meyer or Brian Kelly or, Mark D'Antonio, but at Michigan, we have a guy that, the NFL was going to want every year, so I think it's a good thing.
Amen to that. With us here on our Game Day segment this week as we get the updates on recruiting and the latest news has been Steve Lorenz from 24/7 Sports. Steve, an exciting couple of weeks and months coming up for Michigan football, and we will get you right back on here in January where we will have a much better handle and idea of what's happening with our 2017 recruiting class. So thanks for taking the time to join us, and we look forward to a January visit.
Appreciate it, Mike. Appreciate it as always.
A few news and notes are next as we wrap it up for another show here on The Michigan Man on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. notes today. We'll keep it short this week because of the length of our interview. In the next few weeks, we'll update recruiting, then start previewing the Orange Bowl. After the new year, we'll wrap up the season and start turning our attention to the busy winter sports scene here at Michigan, which will include more basketball and hockey coverage, and yes, even softball and baseball, which begin indoor practice just a month from right now. Very hard to believe. Football will always be on the radar, though, with National Signing Day in early February, followed by spring football. So as I say each year, we don't go away after the bowl game. I'll be here each week with the latest news on the Michigan sports scene, so I hope you will stay with us through these cold winter months. It's never been easier to get the show either. Our free show app is available from iTunes and Google Play, and we are now on the iHeartRadio team. Just do a search for The Michigan Man and add us to your iHeart favorites. It's that easy. Thanks again to recruiting guru Steve Lorenz from 24/7 Sports for being our guest today. He'll be back with us in January for another update. That will do it for another show. I'm your host, Mike Fitzpatrick. Don't forget to join us next week. Until then, stay warm, have a great Wolverine week, take care, and as always, go blue. Thanks for joining us today on The Michigan Man, here on Wolverine Sports Radio, a member of the V Sporto Network, and in partnership with SB Nation's Maize and Brew. Our listener lines are open 24/7 for your calls at 313-263-4842. That's 313-263-4842. Or email us at themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. That's themichiganmanpodcast@yahoo.com. The Michigan Man Podcast is produced at the studios of Robin Lynn Productions, Allen Park, Michigan, and is not affiliated with the University of Michigan. Go Blue!